Hello to everyone. Welcome this morning on the second day of the Five Nines Customer Days 2016. And our first topic today will be a presentation from Rex McMillan directly from Landesk America, the principal product manager for the Landesk Management Suite and especially the today's topic, the Landesk Management Suite 2016 and Windows 10. So I hand over to Rex McMillan. Give him a warm welcome here in Germany. Rex, it's your turn.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Excited to be here. Appreciate you guys all coming. Appreciate the opportunity to come to Germany and to talk to you about 2016. This is our new release. We're super excited about the features that we've put in it and that you guys get your hands on it. So I have a couple slides. I know everybody here loves slides. And then after that, we'll switch over and we'll look at some product and we'll talk about some of the challenges that we were looking at and some of the ways that we hope that we solved them for you. So always as a product manager, we have to have some goal, some vision that we're thinking about. So we've been thinking about over the last while 3 topics. First off, how do we make things simple? We know that in IT we do complex tasks. Things are hard, things are complex, but we want to make them simple. We want to really increase the efficiency in your network. In your organization, we want to make things efficient. Security is always a challenge. Anytime you secure something, there's always an impact, but we have driven for ourselves, we say we want to help you be able to protect in silence. That means that we know we've got to secure things, but we want that impact to be minimal. So those are some of the goals that we talk to ourselves about as product managers of, hey, how do we make the product accomplish these things for you guys? As we talked about 2016 and what the focus is, as IT people, we really talk a lot about devices and what are we going to patch and Windows 10 patching. But really what the challenge is in the future is us, the user, where the users are more mobile. The users have different work habits. They're using different types of devices. So as we talked about the release, we said we want to make sure that we focus on making sure that we understand that user and enable that user to be in the right spot. We want to make sure that you guys have the capability to modernize your IT departments. So that's the conversations that we have with customers, with ourselves, trying to make sure that we really accomplish this in the product. So here we are. This is our 2016 release. And you can see I've opened up my console here. And to start out with, we knew one of the things that we wanted to make sure we had was visibility. As we looked at our console, we said, hey, you know what? We want to make it so our IT people really know and have the right information. So we come out with a new dashboarding tool. You can see I have a bunch of dashboards here. There's a lot of pre-configured dashboards. The nice part about these dashboards is they have items in them that allow us to drill. So I double-clicked that. My console became a little busy. It's in the background. It's creating queries for me and resolving those queries so I can go act on that data. It's going to take... VMware decided to make everything go black for a second. There we go. So right here in the background, we can see that chart's drillable, and he created me some queries right here under my chart-generated queries. I have queries that allow me to act right outside of these dashboards. So all the dashboards are there. I can run this in a separate window. If I have 2 monitors, I just push that over and it can sit over there and I can watch that dashboard at any point in time. These dashboards are configurable. A lot of them have different choices. We can come in and set the options that we want to be able to see. So this gives you a lot of capabilities in having increased visibility inside of your console. You can create your own dashboard. You can see here I've created additional dashboards. All of these have different charts on them. I can run as many of them as I'd like. I can put them where I'd like. So now we kind of started to work on a bunch of these spots. Thank you very much. So as we were working on this and we started creating more queries and we talked to customers, there was 2 things that became apparent. Inside the query tool, there was a spot where everybody struggled, and there was some spots in the console that were slow at times. And we said, hey, we want to make sure we fix that. So as you work on your console, you'll find that we've put a whole bunch of new technology in your console. And as you go to create queries, you can come in now. If you go to create a query, we'll just go down here to software, and we'll go to add remove programs, pick a program, click on names. First thing you should have noticed is my displayed values over here loaded almost instantly. A lot of technology changes around making sure this is fast. Well, we talked to one of our customers and he said, that's really cool. I like that you made it fast, but don't talk to me until you make it so it's searchable. So if I start typing, it'll search so you can actually find what you want out of those big long lists. Big thanks to our developers. We kept going back to them and saying, you know what? This is something we do every day, lots and lots of times. Let's make it a lot funner and easier. So direct from our developers of just one of those things that we saw as we went out and traveled and visited with you guys to make sure that your lives got better. So as we were working on this, we said, hey, there's a lot of areas where we're doing the same task over and over. We want to make sure things get a lot easier. So we started in distribution. And in distribution, that's one of those main things we do all the time. We said, hey, we want to make that a lot easier. So we came in, and first off, we organized the menu, so it's a little cleaner. But you can see I can create mobile packages. So I can do mobile deployment right here. I also have some new packages around Windows. So here I've got a Windows action package. Anybody ever had to create a script just to delete a file, change a registry key? Those scripts take us time. So now it's really easy. We can come in here. If I need to change a registry key, I just select the update a registry key, and it prompts me for what I want to change. Once I do that, it'll create all the scripts for you. So this was just to make it simpler, so you guys were able to create scripts a lot easier and reduce that workload and make life easier. So as we came in and we started working on it, we said, hey, what we really want to do is be able to target users. We want to manage any device that the user's working on. Windows 10 is coming out, and it's the promise that it's the same for everybody. It's Windows 10 everywhere, mobile everywhere. We recognize this, but we still want to manage everything with one console. So first off, we said, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter what the device is. We want to be able to put the right policies on it, the right configuration. So we've added additional agent settings here. You can see there's ones like power management. It's a nice agent setting now. The newest ones are mobility. You can come in here and configure mobility configurations. So I can come in here and I can set iOS restrictions, passcodes. I can build my mobile MDM solution. As I build that mobility, that means I've got to make my core server become a MDM server. So in the 2016 release, this is true unified endpoint management. Doesn't matter what platform it is. I can come in here, I can make the core talk to GCM and APNS. The core server is the only server required for you to be able to manage your mobile devices, your Windows devices, your Mac devices, and with the 2016 release, we've enhanced our Linux support. So we've got Linux support for Red Hat 5, 6, 7, CentOS 6 and 7, SLUS 10 and 11. And when I say that, we've had Linux agents over the past, and they've only done like inventory, or they've only done a little bit. With the new agent that's releasing with 2016, it does inventory, distribution, detection, and patch remediation. So there is content for all of those platforms. So we're super excited about the capabilities of being able to manage all your devices in that single console. So now we've seen that we've worked on the ability to have all the different agents, make it an MDM server. We work in our distribution. We can come in here and we can create packages for mobile. Now, when you do mobile, there's a couple types of packages. There's App Store apps that you want to deploy, and there's custom applications. Both of those are supported. So you're able to deploy these. As you deploy these, There's optional and required type. Required, we know, we all push it, it's quiet, but our end users are wanting more of an App Store feel. So with the 2016 release, we've enhanced and continue to work on our Workspaces technology. Workspaces is a unified endpoint technology, makes it so that we can display. Right here you can see, this is my new portal, this is my Windows end user portal. Now the really nice part about this guy is, resolutions keep changing, he's a responsive design. So if I just go right there, you can see all of a sudden he's going to work like this. This is the same technology that's going to be used if you're on a mobile device. So if I install mobile and I'm managing it, I open up my mobile, it's going to be the same look and feel. Same actual application being delivered to your mobile devices so you can actually install software, have links. Now if you're doing an integrated with Service Desk, you can do requests, installations, all in the same location. So if your end user has a problem, they can go to one stop, they go to the software catalog, they can install software, make a request, click a link, all of it's right there in the same spot. So we've continued to enhance our Workspaces technology. This technology, we've said, hey, you know what, there's specific roles we want to make sure we treat right. First off, we worked on that end user. In the 2016 release, you'll also see that we've worked on the IT analyst. Now, there's a lot of actions that we can continue to add in here for the IT analyst, but first off, he can see what kind of tasks he's created. He can search and find people, and when he finds these devices, I guess it's been a lot longer since I logged in than I thought. Once he finds these people, he can come in, do a search, find the person, see what devices they have. Here's my person, here's all the devices he has inventory, and he can come in and even install software for that device right here. As an analyst, we didn't want him to have a lot of choices. We didn't want him to have a lot of configuration. So you as the admin set all the defaults. The analyst gets just a simple, yes, I want to install that. When he gets done there, he can come back to his task summary and he can see that he created a new task. So very simplified version for the IT analyst. We're continuing to work in this and adding more actions in this for the analyst. So this is one of those things that we've been working on. So Windows 10, that's the big looming topic. We've been talking about Windows 10. We've all been running it. I'm now at 1 year of it on my production box. It was a little rough the first month, but about March last year, it finally got so I didn't hate it. As we play with it, there's a lot of really cool capabilities, but there's some real big challenges coming with it. So Windows 10 patching. First off, we're actually in a good spot because we're all sitting here. The patches within Windows 10 today are cumulative. That means that the downloading technologies you have inside of Patch Manager are more important than ever. We had a customer who got a little ahead of himself and said, hey, well, you guys don't have content. I'm on Insider Preview. I've got these things. I'm going to try patching them. He was doing a test. He brought down his WAN link. It was a bad test. He called us up and said, when are you going to have content? And we're like, well, we're testing the Insider Preview content. As soon as it releases, we'll have content. So the first thing we did for all customers, regardless if you own Patch or not, there is content in LANDesk, under LANDesk content, that will disable Windows 10 upgrade on all your devices. So if you go take that content, put it out, you'll not have any of your devices all of a sudden want to automatically upgrade. I don't know where Microsoft is in Germany, but in the US, as of last week, they announced that the Windows 10 upgrade on Windows 7 devices will go from optional to recommended. So if you have non-domain managed machines in your environment, that Windows 10 upgrade in the US, I don't know where Germany's at, in the US becomes recommended starting as of like next week. We have customers who have a lot of machines that they're using in like manufacturing where they don't put them on the domain. They're just in box, but they do updates. If they ever contact Microsoft without that patch, without that content to disable, the Windows 10 upgrade will be recommended. So everybody, go get that content. Make sure your machines are set so that they won't upgrade to Windows 10 without you having control of it. That's number one. And number two, there is content for all of the different branches of Windows 10. We're continuing. We follow that Windows 10 thread all the time. We're right on top of it. It doesn't feel like it sometimes because sometimes those branches that Microsoft's talking about, 2 months ago somebody called me up and said, hey, I don't get it. You don't have, maybe it was 3 months ago. I can't get content for you for long-term sustaining branch. I'm like, you're right. Microsoft hasn't released the branch yet. They talk about it a lot, but we can't get it. It's not public yet. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of changes, but we're right on top of those. There is content for all Microsoft patches. We're following them really closely. We have a dedicated team that's on top of that. So disable your devices so you know when you're going to upgrade to 10. All the patch content's there inside of Patch Manager. But that's not really enough. We know we want to get to Windows 10 at the right time. So we've continued to make enhancements inside of our provisioning tool. Our provisioning tool now has its own toolbox. So for those of you that were used to it being under distribution, like myself, I go to distribution and then I have to go click and find that it has its own toolbox option. So here he is, and we've made a few enhancements inside of here. First off, the pre-boot environment, the WinPE Windows 10 environment that we ship is now based on Windows 10. So it's a Windows 10 WinPE. We include .NET inside it. So we've enhanced it to have .NET. We've enhanced it to have PowerShell so that WinPE is ready for you guys to do all of the fun things that are going to come with Windows 10. So new WinPE, it's all there. From my side, one of the really coolest things is that if I have to patch that Wim, if there's some reason we need to make a tweak to it, we just have to replace the files and we'll build that WinPE on your environment. So if you want to change the Wim out, you can change it out and then click the build process and we'll put all of our files back in it for you. So we do all of the build of the Wim on your core server, so when we patch it, you're not going to see us handing you a full Wim. In 9.6, the patches for provisioning were always really big. Now they're just really small because they're just the changes unless the Wim needs updated from Microsoft. All right, so we're just going to go over here to my provisioning template, do a little edit on it. And I got a super simple here. I got a new action. Anybody ever wanted to do a variable comparison? In provisioning, you can create a lot of variables. Well, now I can come in here and I can pick what variable, I can pick a couple of options, and I can compare it. That's kind of cool. Doesn't do anything, right? Doesn't do anything. All I did is compare a variable. I can now come in and put a condition around this and say if. So I can put my compare variable in my if statement. Now, if that variable comparison is true, everything inside the if will act. So you get if and else, two new actions, plus some variable comparison. You can put any action you want inside of the if. If you want to say, hey, I want to install Office, if it's successful, then I want to install this additional component. If it's not successful, I don't want to install the additional component. So I can put an if on any action. You can't nest if statements yet, but you can put if and else's down through it, as many of them as you need in the template. So the big change there for you to be able to do variable comparisons. There's also a bunch of new actions around changing agent settings. So much easier for you to go in and make changes to the agent settings, do device naming. There's a device name prompter. It allows you to build complex variables and naming to do names. So we can come in here and let's just come in here and say, oh, oops. Pick this guy, and I want to use a name template. let's pick one here. We'll create a new one. So I say, hey, I want it to be based on, we name ours, this is going to be my Salt Lake City. There's my Salt Lake City. And I want to take any name, any part I want, and I want to truncate it to the last 5 characters. I can build myself a complex template that will increment those numbers as you use that variable. So a lot of you guys have some really cool templates. I've had the opportunity this week to see some of you guys' naming. You guys are doing some cool things. Hopefully this will help some of you that haven't gone and done it programmatically, that you can do some equally things. So inside of provisioning, this is big template changes. So the other big part that we heard really loudly from our customers is when we do stuff, we want it to be ours. We want our people to know that our IT department's doing it. So everything in provisioning is now brandable. You can change out the logos, the colors, all of this. You just come right in here, put your title in, put your banner in, pick your colors, and now when you do provisioning, all the provisioning UIs are branded. So as an IT department, during provisioning, you can say, hey, this is us, we're actually doing the provisioning. It's not LANDesk, it's our IT department, so when somebody walks past and sees a machine provisioning, they know, hey, our IT department is working, and they don't have a question of actually who's doing the work. So total branding on this? Well, as we talk about provisioning and going to Windows 10, new hardware is coming out. There's a lot of hardware coming out here in the next few months to support Windows 10. One of the big challenges we've had is out there is about driver management. So in the past, anytime you wanted to do hardware independent driver installations, all the logic is out on the client. We get to the client, we say, hey, we have a driver database. Let's see what you have, and then we make it and we do the matching right out on the client, real time at the client. Well, if something breaks, it's really hard for IT to go back and figure out what broke. So in 2016, we actually, if you'll run a scan on the device, you can do all the matching right here on the core. So you can come in and say, I want to run auto detection. I have a driver library. My driver library is not very big, but here's my driver library. Here's all the information about my device. You can see right here, this guy is assigned a driver. Now, sometimes I have a device that you can see right here. This device has been giving me problems, so I've disabled driver assignment for that device. When we go to do matching, no driver will be installed for that. So if you're troubleshooting a blue screen, it's easy to come in and disable. It's really hard. All you have to do is say disable HII detection on the device that you don't want to have a driver on. Anytime you want to do this, you can just come in, put auto detection, select this, click on detect. It'll run all the DISM commands. It'll do the detection against the database and against the driver library, and it'll show you all what you have. Click assign all, and you've now baked a driver library for a device. Doesn't matter if you change your driver library, those drivers are always going to be used because you've run the detection and said, assign these. Very simple, very easy for you to come in and know exactly what's occurring inside of your provisioning. So we went out and did our field test. It was really nice. We went into a customer environment, and they're like, well, we use provisioning, but we've never got driver libraries working. All right, let's go in and give you a little bit of help. We went into our patch content and said, hey, first off, let's go get the drivers you need. So we came into here, driver updates, HII drivers. There's now Dell and HP driver content. So if you're using either of these guys, you can come in and just pick which one you want, and we can download that content. We'll extract it, and it'll be in your library ready for you. You don't have to go look for it. It'll stay up to date. If HP does that, patch content will download those new drivers. Now they automatically download new drivers, but we don't update the driver library. We just prompt you to do it. So there's never any change. The drivers will be there, they'll be available, but you can actually choose when to implement them. So big changes there. simplify the world a whole bunch for you around that. Patch management, though, is a really big task, as well as is distribution. So I was at a site a while back, and I was talking to the IT guy. We're sitting back at his desk. He's showing me what he's doing, and he'd been working on a big project. And he's like, I'm on like day 500 of this. Really, it was about day 60. And I'm in the 4th phase, and I'm almost done with this project, and life's looking up. While I'm sitting there, we start talking. His boss walks up and says, hey, the change control board just approved us to move forward with our next project. And he looks at me and he says, everything I've just done for the last 60 days, I'm going to have to recreate those same tasks. The only thing that's going to be different is what I'm deploying. And he's like, I'm going to do all that work all over. I'm like, yeah, that's not so fun. Go to another customer, and they're like, every month I create the same tasks. I create the same groups. I move my patches around the exact same way. Help me not have to do that. So in this release, we've come out with our new Rollout Projects. Rollout Projects gives us the capability to come in, build a project view, right down to the Gantt chart of what our expected timelines are, so we can actually do a deployment. I have to quit moving my mouse that far. So we can actually do a deployment. So here you can see I've got my critical patch project. I'm running a bunch of patches through it. Inside of this, I have each step changes how and who is going to get the task. What's going to occur will be the same. Every step of the way, the vulnerability will either pass through, or if it's a distribution package, the distribution package will be the same package. The same what will occur on every step, but how and who will be able to change. So here you can see I've got a project. Here's a little, go in here and look at this step. In this step on patch management, you can see I have the capability to change autofix settings. I can add a patch to a group. If you use patch by group, I can come in here, and when I hit this step, I can just say, move this vulnerability into the next group. Once I've automated this, I don't have to worry about, did I drag it to the right group? Did I drop it to the right spot? No. All you have to say is roll to the next step. It'll take care of moving it into the right spots for you. So I can take care of my group membership. I can change how it's scanning. And there's a new feature called tagging. You can add tags to those vulnerabilities so that you can actually know. You can see I can create a tag at the at will. So whatever I need that tag to be named, if you put your keyboard on an angle, it's really easy to type. I can add that as what I want, and when it comes in, I can add or remove tags that I want so I know exactly what's occurring with my environment. So tags are a really nice little capability, or I can create a task. So in my environment, here I use on my demo system, my first step of a pilot is a push. As soon as that vulnerability comes out, I want to download it through the content, and I want to push it out to my lab. Now my lab is small, so right here you can see I just choose my accelerated push. I select my targets, and I'm going to push this out. So what I really said here is I want to be able to automate all the way from the download through that first step. So even if I don't come to work, I want to be able to tell my boss, yep, new patches came, and they're already tested in the lab. Here's our success criteria. So here I can come in here to downloading, and I can change my definition download. So I've created a rule right here that says, hey, if it's a vulnerability and it's critical, and the Microsoft is the vendor, I want to add it into my critical patch project. So I can automate all the way from the download of it into my project and start that project on each step of the way, all the way down through it. Now, one of the challenges with any type of project is I have to be able to design gates or exit criteria. When am I successful? When can I go to the next level? To do that, we have to we go. We have to come in, back over here to our rollout projects, and on the step, we get to define what success looks like. This is our exit criteria. When you looked at my Gantt chart, it had an expected timeline. This is my expected timeline. I can choose success. Does this success look like this percentage of machines successfully installed it? Or do I have to make sure the patch was actually installed? So maybe I just want to make sure things aren't vulnerable. Maybe I want to make sure that they're actually installed. I can put waits. I can require manual approvals. And it warned me and says, hey, you have to actually, if you're going to choose success, you actually have to choose who you're going to do it. There we go. So there's my success criteria. So I have to choose my targets, whether the patch installed, what my success rate is. I can choose my manual, and then I can choose what kind of notifications I want for the items flowing through this project. I can choose to not be notified at all. I'll just watch it in my dashboard, or I can choose to send me an email around my critical stuff. My low stuff, maybe I don't want to have an email, but I can get the spam when I want it. I call it spam because we all get too much email. So, but it is a needed thing sometimes to know what's going on in the project. So these are the steps and process that we have to be able to automate. No additional servers, super easy to set up. You can go from downloading content all the way through a deployment of patches or distribution with just a few minutes worth of configuration. So as we went and worked on that, and we said, hey, one of the things we want to make sure is that we've put this automation around patch management. They're inside of the workspaces. There's now a security workspace that has a bunch of information about patch management. I have my vulnerability scans, who's scanning, which vulnerabilities are most detected, which ones are failing, what my vulnerability status is, and where my failures are occurring. So I can give this to my security team and say, hey, if you just want to trend and see where we're trending, here is a workspace for a security admin. You don't have to have anything else in the console. You can just watch this dashboard. And in the future releases, next couple of quarters, you'll be able to configure and choose which dashboards and which charts you want on this for your security admin. So we've continued to put a bunch of effort and work inside of making sure that visibility occurs for everyone. So a release wouldn't really be all the way, couldn't call it unified endpoint management if I hadn't done something about discovery. We've talked about being able to manage things, about how we've gotten agents for new devices, but one of the challenges that we saw as we've talked to customers is actually knowing what's on their network. Does anybody feel like they confidently know everything on their network? You probably have a NAC type of solution that's locking that down. Most of us don't get to run full NAC, and we know that things are coming on our environment. We have business units that are buying devices without going through IT. We know there's all kinds of little things going on out there. Sometimes we're actually worried about it. Sometimes we just don't want to know. But automated fashion, to be able to go out and discover all of those devices passively is super powerful. So in the 2016 release, you've now got this self-electing platform. The client self-electing platform is a capability that allows us to go out and say, on this subnet, I need a service. We'll have an election. One guy will be chosen. He'll be in charge of that service. Now that service may be disabled or enabled. He'll take charge of making sure that it stays in the desired state. So the two services that came out on the client self-electing platform this time are passive discovery, ARP discovery, and wireless access point discovery. In the future, you can add, and we'll be able to add additional items inside of this. So how do we configure it, and how do we turn it on a device? Well, it's very straightforward. We can come in here to our agent settings, and we can go to our client connectivity, and we can pick what our client self-electing platform. So we can enable this. We can disable or enable it globally for the device, and then we can choose the service. So here, this service, I've got it selected. I'm going to use ARP, and I have a little checkbox here that says give desktops a preference. The client self-electing platform in the background has an algorithm, and he says, you told me to give desktops a preference. Who responds first? He's going to make a decision about who the best guy to be that representative is. Now, if something happens to that guy and he goes away, he's going to be in charge of making sure that all the peers will make sure somebody new happens. Now, it was a lot of words, but really the picture shows it the best. On a subnet, the client's holding an election, desktop got preference. He's the only guy that talks to the core about that service. So it's really light on your network. Something happens to him, he goes away, we have a new election. That happens within about 10 seconds. New guy gets elected, he's the only guy that talks to the core. So it's very straightforward for us to be able to put a service on a subnet without having to manage it. If we have to choose on every subnet who's going to be in charge of that service, it takes way too much time. A few years ago, Interchange had a class, probably about a little bigger than this, and at the end of the class, I'd talked the whole time, and I hadn't given the gifts away. They had 2 little things I was supposed to give away, and I said, hey, I'll just give it away to the guy with the most subnets. I'm going to confess right here, I made a dumb rookie mistake. This is my confession. I said, okay, I'll give it to the guy with the most subnets. Anybody with over 1,000 subnets in you, please raise your hand. Well, that was right there with my rookie mistake. Everybody in the room had over 1,000 subnets. So after I recovered from the fact that I'd used a number so dang small, I started climbing the number up. I had to get to 3,800 subnets to get down to 3 people. So if I'm trying to do something like XDD, wireless point discovery, and I have 3,800 subnets, it's never going to happen. It takes too much time to put that service out on it. So with the self-electing subnet service, I can just choose my subnet, pick the state of it, and off I go. And in the background, we'll take care of all of it. And as a benefit, you now will have right here in the console, you will have a list of all of your subnets. Even if you don't use the services, you're going to have now a list of every subnet that has a client on it. So this is some really great technologies around this. There's a lot more. There's a lot of really cool things. Apologize, I can't show all of them to you. Play with the 2016 release. We're really excited. We've had a lot of opportunities to take it out, show it to customers. We've ran through our field test. We went to 10 production environments. We upgraded them in 1 week. We watched them, and it's the smoothest field test we've had in many years. We're super excited about the release and the stability. Hope you guys enjoy it.
So thank you. Rex, thank you for your presentation. I think there are a lot of good new things inside the LDMS 2010. What are you thinking about? 2016. What had I said? Okay. 2016, of course. So the next question is, are there questions from your side? So Rex is still here. Ask your questions. About Windows 10, about patch management, provisioning.
Hello. Hello? Yeah. I want to know if there are more feedback options from Workspace, for example, for installing programs.
So you're looking for insider programs to provide more feedback?
Yeah.
I'll give you my card.
Okay.
We'll go that level. You can contact me. Yes?
What about the mobile device management? I have seen iOS and Android, but no Windows.
So the questions, what about mobile devices? You see iOS, you see Android, but what about Windows Phone? So it's mostly there. You can't see it because we hid it. We're still testing it. We're working on it. In this release, the iOS is very solid. The Android, we're still working on some additional features there, and Windows Phone will finish up after that. So we are working down through those, And we're going in that order right now.
What's the time frame for that?
Time frames?
Yeah, for Windows 10.
I don't know exactly on the time frame on the Windows 10, but let's talk and we'll make sure that as you work through it, we'll be there. So we've heard a lot of Windows 10 requests lately, but the device count's not quite there yet. So we're just prioritizing it as we see the devices.
With the mobile device management in the Landes console, does that mean that the Avalanche platform is cancelled?
That does mean that Avalanche still exists, but in the future this will be at where it is, and that means I didn't come to here. I should have come to this slide. And when you're on 2016, basic MDM support is included with your LDMS license. So for every LDMS device license, you get 2 mobile device management licenses.
Thank you.
Now, if you want the fun, cool stuff like email security, that is the mobile security suite. Basic MDM is included.
Is it integrated in a Tooms license model?
There's links in and out of it. We're still working on some of that integration.
Thank you.
Yeah, one thing we saw was packaged actions.
Yes.
I believe these are pre-packaged actions from your side, but will it be possible to add own code scripts or snippets as self-designed packaged actions?
You'd like us to add, say it one more time.
We have seen packaged actions,
Yes.
which are actions from your side that you expect us to want to do. But is there any possibility to add own scripts to tie into corporate environment custom actions?
Under the Windows Action package, I didn't click on it, but there was one that said custom.
Okay.
So you can drop right into custom and then use ours and then go custom, and you can chain those in the order as you need them.
Okay, and a fun question maybe, but we've seen the branding options. Would it be possible to do a dynamic branding according to who is actually doing something? Like my colleague Christian is deploying a packet for the user and he sees that Christian is deploying it instead of a corporate branding?
So
So a more personalized approach to IT because we need to get in contact with the users.
So
They see persons, not IT.
So in provisioning, the branding is at 2 levels. There's global, and then there is per template. So when the template goes to run on the device, it's going to load the branding out of that template. So if you wanted to change that, you could probably write a script that actually pulled in and made those name changes on the fly.
Yeah, okay,
Is it technically feasible? Yes. Is it hard? Probably.
So what we are wondering is the integration of Office 365 Click to Run, if that would once be integrated in Landes.
Yes, Office 365 Click to Run. So Office 365 has been challenging. One of the big things about Office 365 Challenge is access to it. I run it, we use it, we have licenses to it, and we have licenses for our IT department, we have licenses for our test, and we're working on building content. We're testing through that today. It's a little challenging because the hashes from Microsoft aren't always the same. So we're working through that. We expect to have some content out this year. I'm hoping much sooner than that, but we're hoping to have content available that allow you to control the patching of Office 365 here in the near future. I've seen prototypes, I've seen it work. We found a few little gotchas from Microsoft, so we are working through the Office 365 patching and expect to be able to provide that out. Now once we get it for patching, the cool part is if you can patch it, it installs it as well. So it's kind of a similar thing. So if you guys are really on top of it, as I work through it, we'll probably be contacting you and have you do a little test for us. So, okay? Yes?
Are there any plans to make the process manager and the management suite more stable and to improve the quality of the customer support?
So the question is around our process manager, and there is a team that's been working on a bunch of that. There's a patch for it about to come out, and there is a lot of work around a process engine. I don't know a release time frame on it, but we are doing a lot of work in that area. So I can't really share too much because I don't know timelines. But yes, we're very focused on making sure we work on process.
And what about the management suite and the customer support?
Customer support and management suite, probably the big change that's coming or has come is in the last 90 days. We've opened an additional support office. We haven't closed any or changed any. We have opened an additional support office in Warsaw, and everybody in the Warsaw office is German speaking. So we're expecting, just in all honesty, London's been a little challenging to find good German speakers that are very technical. So we expect with the Warsaw office and the language skills that are coming out of that region that your level of support quality will go up.
So, additional questions?
You guys are a tough group. Lots of questions. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I will come to you.
Good morning. What's this with UEFI support in OSD? Can you recognize now every tablet which has only UEFI instead of legacy boot?
Okay, so with the, set me back through it,
The
sorry.
recognition of a UEFI device that you can install Windows 10, for example, on a client, which do not have any possibility to boot in Pixie with a legacy BIOS because it does not exist any longer.
So the Windows 10 tablet devices where we can't Pixie boot,
No,
is that the,
no Windows 10 device tablet has the possibility to boot in Pixie. They can only boot UEFI.
yeah, so there are some of these tablets that don't support Pixie boot. That's why we did create the offline so you can create the little USBs. We've been buying tablets and we're working through some of the new methodologies that are going to be required. Right now, a lot of those tablets, the only way to image them is with a USB drive. They don't support any type of network. They don't support anything but USB stick. If you do create an offline provisioning template with the USB stick, put the USB stick in, it will run the offline portions, and once the client's installed and it comes into that next step, it will communicate to the core and actually go online and finish all provisioning if it can talk to the core. So right now, a lot of those devices are USB only. I don't know if the manufacturers of them, there's a lot of pressure in the industry to support Pixie type of capabilities. The UEFI spec is another challenge that's been out with hardware. Different manufacturers have implemented it differently. That's kind of ironing out of the last 6 months. We're starting to see UEFI devices actually all support Pixie and Pixie boot correctly. But there's been a lot of hardware challenges with the moving from BIOS to UEFI. So a lot of times we get the devices, we buy them, we bring them in, we get reports from customers of, hey, I can't Pixie boot this one. We buy that device, we get it, and we get down into it, and it's actually a bug in the BIOS. We've been working with a lot of hardware vendors to get those resolved, and the hardware we're starting to see now is starting to work. So there's definitely some hardware challenges in the world.
Okay, maybe one last question. Okay. Ah, there's one, there's one.
We have a lot of mobile phones in Avalanche. How do we migrate these iPhones or Windows phones or Androids to the new solution?
So you have a lot of phones that are, I missed that last.
We are using the Avalanche.
Oh, Avalanche, okay.
We have
So
900 iPhones.
Yep.
And
So
we want to migrate to the new solution.
there is a challenge with the MDM world. I'm sorry. We have been talking to Google, we've talked to Apple, and the question is, I have a device, it can only be enrolled to one MDM. That's an OS limitation.
Sounds like a security feature.
And we say, we want to bring them from one MDM to the next MDM. Today, there is no programmatic way supported in the OSs. So I'm going to say stay on Avalanche for a little while, and maybe the vendors are going to change that, because there's a lot of push from MDM vendors to say, hey, when we're doing upgrades, it's really impossible for us to do this. When we called and talked to Apple, they said, you're not the first guy to call us and tell us this complaint. But right now, they won't support any programmatic change of enrollment. So I'm so sorry. And trust me, that's been a real sore subject around our office as well.
Okay, then my last word is thanks, Rex. Thanks for coming
Thank you, guys.
to
Thanks
the
for having me.
customer days of the 5 Nines in 2016. Here's a little present for
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thanks to you for all this very good and very interesting question. And Rex, again, thanks for your honest answers.
Thank you guys very much for having me.
So, okay.